and it seems like even though the United States has yet to declare war on Iran, it will probably happen in the next couple of days with the United States bombing Iran. America and its allies in the Middle East have major strategic vulnerabilities. For example, let's take Saudi Arabia. Well, Saudi Arabia has two vulnerable resources that the Iranians at any time can strike at through their proxies, the Houthis, right? You have the desalination plants, which is the only source of fresh water for Saudi Arabia. If you knock out the desalination plants in Saudi Arabia loses all its fresh water in 2 weeks' time, and there's no way of replenishing that fresh water. Then, of course, you have the oil fields, which are extremely vulnerable to rocket attacks. So, Saudi Arabia, the main U.S. ally of Arab nations in the Middle East, it's extremely vulnerable to Iranian attacks. Then you have the Strait of Hormuz, which controls a great deal of the world's trade. If Iran closes that off, then that cuts off not just oil to East Asia, but it cuts off revenue for American allies like Oman, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Qatar. And the last strategic vulnerability is you have all sorts of American bases throughout the Middle East, especially in Kuwait, especially in Saudi Arabia, Qatar. And these are legitimate military targets if America declares war on Iran. Another way of saying this is Americans, their ability to inflict pain on Iran, we know it's predictable, and we know that the Iranians can sustain it because this sanctions regime has been going on for the past few decades. But the Iranians' ability to inflict pain on American allies, as well as the American military, as well as American consumers, well, they're not really predictable. And ultimately, you can make the argument that because the American people are not in favor of this war, then it's less likely that American consumers will be able to absorb high oil prices and inflation that this war would inevitably cause. So I would say the main advantage going into this war, just from a geopolitical analytical perspective, I would say it's very much in favor of the Iranians. This does not mean that the Americans and Israelis will not be able to inflict tremendous damage on the nation. I mean, if America and Israel continues its bombing campaign, which I suspect it will for the next few months, then we will see tremendous damage and economic loss within Iran. But ultimately, war is not decided by resources, weapons, or technology. It's really decided by a people's willingness to fight and die for what they believe in. And I think when it comes to this question, then I think the Iranians have a huge advantage over the Americans. Also, let's not forget that the Iranians have been studying. The Americans have been studying the American strategy in the Middle East for the past 20 years. And I'm pretty sure they developed counter strategies against an American attack. And I think the main counter strategy is the idea of decentralization. You've got these different militias, different cells embedded in different parts of Iran. So even though America and Israel, they might be able to decapitate the leadership, they may be able to knock out the central leadership in Tehran, they won't be able to occupy the country. And unless they're able to occupy the country and install a military regime that's to their liking, then this war is not won. Then Iran is still a functioning threat to American Middle East interests. Okay, having gone through some broad analysis, let's look at questions that viewers have been asking on my Discord server.